welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we better grab some holy water because we're going to take on a demon. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, I would appreciate that. Also, a shameless plug for my TeePublic page. I'm going to put that link down below. Also, for the movie we're about to discuss, I'm going to put an Amazon affiliate link down below. And if you use that link, it does not cost you 1 cent more, but it does help out the channel, and I would greatly appreciate that if you would click on that if you are interested in the movie we're going to discuss today. And today we're talking about a biggie, The Exorcist. The Exorcist dropped December 26th of 1973. It's rated R. The theatrical cut is 2 hours and 2 minutes long. The director's cut is 2 hours and 12 minutes long, had a budget of $11 million, and upon release, it made $233 million in America and $441 worldwide. So this was a huge hit. Although Warner Brothers didn't have a whole lot of faith in this film because the production had gone on for so long, and we will get into that. This film was directed by William Friedkin. Stanley Kubrick was actually interested in this film, or they wanted him to direct it, but William Friedkin got the job coming off of the very successful French Connection. And this film was written by the novel's author, William Peter Blatty. He wrote the novel, The Exorcist, and he wrote the screenplay for this, and he would come back to the franchise for The Exorcist 3, which is a fantastic horror film in its own right, and a great sequel, and he wrote and directed that film. In this film, we got Ellen Burstyn as Chris McNeil. We got Linda Blair as Regan, that's her daughter, and she's a film actress. Ellen Burstyn's character is a film actress, as we see her on set in Washington, D.C. during this film. Max von Sydow plays Father Marin. We're introduced to him right in the beginning of the film in Iraq. He's on an archaeological dig. Jason Miller plays Father Karras. He's a priest in Georgetown, but he's a psychiatrist for the Catholic Church as well. And J. Lee Cobb plays Lieutenant Kinderman, and he would not return to play Lieutenant Kinderman in Exorcist 3. George C. Scott would take over. But sadly, right after this film was done production, J. Lee Cobb passed away. Right in the beginning of this film, we're introduced to Father Marin in the deserts of Iraq, and they find this artifact that has him troubled. And soon after this, he said he's going to be leaving Iraq to go back to the States, and we're introduced to Chris and Regan. And pretty soon, Regan's been playing with a Ouija board, which they do show, and they show it moving on its own. And all of a sudden, Chris starts hearing weird noises in the attic, and we start seeing, as the audience, we're starting to see this creepy face show up in the corner of the screen here and there, and pretty soon Regan starts acting strangely. We're introduced to Father Karras and his troubles. He's a very sick mother who lives on her own in this apartment, and during the film we see her get basically taken to a mental institution. His brother basically puts her in a mental institution, which very troubles Damien Karras. And even his mother says to him, "What have you done to me, Damien?" which weighs on him greatly. And the demon uses that against him during the exorcism. And pretty much we see Regan getting tested by these doctors as she's acting stranger and stranger. Her bed's shaking at night, which her mother, pretty quickly, after some of these strange things starts happening, Chris sees it for herself. And she even says to the doctor, "The bed was shaking with me on it. How is that possible? That cannot be just muscle spasms." So they do more tests, and eventually they say, maybe we should look at a psychiatrist. And eventually they even recommend exorcism. And this is when she approaches Father Karras because she's seen him around, and she's friendly with some of the priests from the local church. And he comes, and eventually he believes enough to go to his superiors about maybe we should look into giving this girl an exorcism. And the higher-ups decide, well, we need someone with more experience. And they even go into how the church doesn't really perform exorcisms anymore. It's a lost thing. Only very few priests even know how to even do it. And even Father Karras says to Chris McNeil, "You probably know more about exorcism than most priests now, because the Catholic Church has kind of done away with it. But there is one man who has done an exorcism before, which we would see in Exorcist for the Beginning, which is not a very good film. But Max von Sydow's Father Marin comes, and with that iconic shot of him getting out of the cab in a foggy, with the light coming through the window shining on him. It's a great shot. It still looks amazing. It's epic as hell. And this is where the exorcism starts. And it's very tense and very Very, very well done. From sound design, effects, the way it's shot by Friedkin, it's great. It's the gold standard of exorcism movies. This one's the one that really started it all, and this is the one that movies try to copy when they do an exorcism or a possession. The Exorcist is the gold standard, and it still holds up incredibly well. Well, Father Marin ends up dying, and Father Karras takes out his frustrations on Regan or the devil or the demon, and eventually the demon inhabits him. He goes, take me, and he throws himself out the window once the demon inhabits him, falls down the steps, gets killed, and Regan is back to normal. She does not remember much, and her mother get in the car, and they drive off. And that's the end of The Exorcist. What's it like about this film? Well, just about everything. From the acting is fantastic. Linda Blair does an amazing job in this film, and she did this at a fairly young age. I think she was 12 or 13 around that time. And she's phenomenal here. And all the scenes. Now, obviously, for the demonic voices, they dubbed her over and whatnot, and there was a lot of makeup effects by the great Dick Smith, but she does give a great performance. And I love how Friedkin sets up her relationship with Chris, her mother, and that she's a single mother. Her dad's not really involved with Regan's life all that much. We find out about that. The film really does take its time. It sets up Father Marin, although he disappears for a large chunk of the film, and then he comes in at the end for the last act. But they set up everybody. The film is definitely patient. It takes its time, which nowadays some newer audiences that would check this out might find that boring, but not for me. I respect the time that Friedkin took to set it up, and all the ways that they were trying to investigate what is wrong with Regan through medical, and then finally, after all these tests were done, the doctors examine her. When they finally, that scene, which still is really great, where the doctors come to their house and Regan hits the one doctor in the face, and she's just going nuts on the bed, and they actually start seeing it for herself, especially with the self-pleasuring crucifix scene, which we won't get into too much, but it still holds up incredibly, incredibly well. And Friedkin really did direct the shit out of this movie. From the editing, the zooms, I love the zooms here. The sound design, using sound is at just the right moment, building the suspense. And then once we get to the full-on exorcism, just not holding back and just going for it. And the effects are still amazing to this day. Dick Smith does a great work with the makeup, all the mechanical effects to make the bed shake. Everything looks very believable and still holds up all these years later. And even in 4K, that 4K right there, which I thought looked really great for a movie that's as old as it is, the transfer is really great. They did a wonderful job. The colors, the greens, the blues pop in the daylight scenes. Some scenes are a little dark and a little grainy, but that could be contributed to the age of the film stock, what shape it was in. I mean, they did a full restoration of it to give it a true 4K transfer. To me, this is the best the film's ever looked. I don't know if it'll ever look any better. It sounded really good as well. So if you're interested in the 4K, I mean, the Blu-ray transfer was pretty damn good, but this is definitely an upgrade. I thought this was definitely better than the Blu-ray transfer. So it's, for me, as big of a fan of the original film as I am, it was definitely a worthwhile purchase. So if you're interested, check out my Amazon affiliate link down below. The studio originally wanted Marlon Brando for Father Karras, but Friedkin vetoed that. He wanted Jason Miller once he saw him. That's who he wanted, so Friedkin stuck to his guns, and good for him. Because if Brando would have came in, even Friedkin said this, it would have became a Marlon Brando movie. And he wasn't interested in making that film, and I'm glad he stuck to his guns, because it would have been so enticing for a filmmaker to go with such a big actor, iconic actor like Brando, but he stuck to his guns and went with somebody who... This was Jason Miller's first film role. He was a stage actor, and and Friedkin liked him that much that he gave him the role, and he's great here. He definitely gives a great performance, as everybody else does as well. It would take Dick Smith 3 hours to make up Max von Sydow's makeup to make him look old, which he does an amazing job. He does look like an older man here, although since I've been alive, Max von Sydow's always looked old, but knowing he was only 40-some years old at the time they made this, and how much work had to go in to make him look like an elderly man, hats off to Dick Smith, who is a legend in this business. The bedroom scenes were done, especially towards the end when you could see everybody's breath, were done on refrigerated sets. The temperature would get down to 30 degrees in there, and it definitely works, and it's very effective. And I know there's stories of legend about what Friedkin did on set to get the reactions out of the actors, like firing blanks out of a gun with Jason Miller, which pissed off Jason Miller, and he told him, "Look, I'm a goddamn actor. I don't need you firing goddamn blanks in here," which I thought was a pretty funny story. This was also the first horror film ever nominated for an Academy Award, deservedly so. This is a very excellent classic at this point horror film. And the shoot on this movie was only supposed to last 85 days. It actually went 224 days to make this film. Freakin was one of those filmmakers who was, I mean, he was definitely an authoritarian on set, and he would did it his way. He was definitely a rebel. The man has since just passed away not too long ago. God rest his soul. He was a fabulous filmmaker. I love The French Connection. This movie is a masterclass in horror, even though he said he wasn't trying to, he didn't shoot it like a horror movie, but it's definitely a horror film. And he would go on to do Sorcerer and all these other great films later on as well. And To Live and Die in L.A., which is a great film. I mean, this is a masterclass on how to do a horror film. And with the new Exorcist film coming out, directed by David Gordon Green, we'll see how they, because it's supposed to be a direct sequel to this film, we'll see how they do. I don't think I'm going to get to see it opening weekend, only because I'm a little busy this weekend. But I do plan on seeing it next week. So I will have a review out for the new Exorcist. At the end of the day, there's so many iconic scenes. The spinning of the head scene when Regan vomits on Father Karras, which actually wasn't supposed to go on his face. It was really supposed to hit him in the chest, but it misfired and hit him in the face. And Freakin kept the footage because of Miller's reaction to it. Um, just the little scenes with Regan when she's slowly deteriorating, and just the stuff where she starts cursing and slapping her mother around. All these great scenes that lead up to that finale, that exorcism scene, and then with Karras killing himself by inviting the demon in and then throwing himself out the window. All great stuff. Musical score is iconic. I don't have anything negative to say about this film, honestly. This is one of those horror films that is pitch perfect. A 10 out of 10 from me. The original Exorcist, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. What would you rate it? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Are you planning on seeing the new Exorcist film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to get to at least 650 by the end of the year. I greatly would appreciate you helping me out with that. But that's it for today. Until next time, bye.